Hi, everybody. Continuing East's Cornucopia of Horror. That's what I've decided to call it. I needed to come up with a cool name. I don't really know if that's cool or not, but whatever. So, this is number two of the movies that I'm watching this month. If you haven't watched the first video, go watch it. I watched The Munsters, a fantastic American piece of cinema. Um, no, but I'm gonna watch as many movies as I can. It's probably not gonna be 31, but as you know, we're on the 4th of October now, and this is only number two. But whatever. Anyways, I watched Boo, which is a movie from 2005. It was directed by Anthony Ferrante. Antonio Ferrante was my piano teacher when I was a little kid, and I always get the names mixed up. But Anthony Ferrante directed Sharknado. Those movies, if you've seen them, so you kind of know if you've seen those and know the quality of those movies, then you probably know what I'm going to say about this film. I watched this movie when I was a kid on the Science Fiction Channel, which is like Sci-Fi Channel now, I guess. I don't even know if that's a channel anymore, but there are these movies, okay, that I watched on this channel back in like 2005, 2004, around that time period, and they're not good, okay, but there are a lot of these like low budget made for TV kind of horror movies, and I always kind of dug them. There was something about them that I don't know. I think it's just nostalgia, to be honest with you. I think it was that I was a little bit too young, maybe, to be watching some of them, and it was kind of exciting, and there was something fun about cheap slasher movies. And the basic plot of this movie, it's a very simplistic plot. I won't go too much into it. It's basically, at its core, a group of kids go to this hospital, an abandoned hospital, and try to last the night. And there are ghosts in the hospital and things like that. And you can pretty much imagine what's going to happen, that they're going to get picked off one by one. And I remember watching this, and I personally always really liked these kind of films where you have a group of characters that are stuck in a location, teenage characters trapped in something like a cabin or something. I was talking to my friend yesterday, and they mentioned that they didn't really like those kind of movies. And I was like, ah, well, I kind of like them. And I kind of get why people don't like that stuff, because especially if it's a low budget movie, when you have like a single kind of location kind of film, you then really have to do something with that location. Because if you don't, you essentially just have characters just meandering around in one location, or a cabin or something if it's much more enclosed than a hospital. At least in this movie, they walk around the hospital a little bit. Um, and like that is the downfall of this film, is that there's not a lot of substance, and it's super super cheap. So yeah, a lot of the movie is just them wandering around the hospital. It often looks similar, probably because they reused, sets and stuff for shots to try to make it appear bigger than it was. And not much really happens. It's just a bunch of bullshit, really, and characters kind of get killed off here and there. And it's very bizarre because in my head, I remember this kind of being slasher-esque, like there was someone in the hospital or something. There is a ghost that's kind of coming after them in this movie, but it takes a more supernatural route than I remember. It's not so much a slasher, really. It's more of just like a weird supernatural film, and it kind of feels like not House of a Thousand Corpses, House on Haunted Hill, the remake from like 1999. It has a vibe like that. That movie isn't good either, but is a lot better, and that's another good one. I think I'll watch that. But it just has that vibe of like spooky, eerie, rundown location, something hiding around, right? It's just got that, like, you never know what you're gonna find when you walk into a room. And I like that feel, like that spooky feel of being in an abandoned location. You never know what you're gonna see. You're just scared because you know that you're gonna probably see something you don't want to see. But this movie man, it's bad. It's way worse than I remember. And there are some movies that I have nostalgia for that I still like, but this ain't one of them. I definitely think this was not very good. And there's this bizarre running theme in this film where anytime a character is like possessed by a ghost or something and they die, normally like shot or something, they just blow up. It's so weird. They explode into guts, and it doesn't really make any sense. And I think that the director did that. He probably wrote the movie too. I wouldn't be surprised. I think he just did that because he was like, oh, let's have some gore. Let's just, how can we put more gore into this? Let's just have the characters explode every time they're shot. And they explode in this like horrible, like, it's, I don't even know if it's CGI. It's like what a composite shot where they like film something exploding and then like crudely paste it onto something. It's just like the special effects in this movie are really bad. And I again, blinded by nostalgia, I guess. I remember like some cool kills and I must have been thinking of a different film because the kills in this are just they're not good to look at. That's not even something enjoyable, right? Um, yeah, and that's basically it. That's pretty lame. Two thumbs down so far, but they're going to be some good ones for sure. The one good thing I guess I could say about this, there's a meme that I saw a couple weeks ago, and it was like, and of course it's not 100% accurate, but it was like, um, even back in like the 90s and stuff, bad movies were still good. Then there's some truth to that. Like, studios definitely let directors take more chances, right, than they do now. No chances are taken these days with even with music and movies. They don't take chances. Everything's very formulaic. What's going to make the most money? Now, obviously, they did that back then, right? And they probably did it as far back as all this has existed. But they definitely took more chances. And I think you did get better movies. And there is some truth to that. Even those movies that were kind of shitty in the 90s, they just had a higher quality than the shitty movies now, I think, right? And running with that theme, movies were shot on film. Now, shooting a movie on film is not going to make it amazing, just like turning the Munsters into a black and white film, like I talked about. It's not going to save that film. But film, I just love the way it looks. Now, some of you folks might not give a shit or even notice, right? But to a fan like myself, as soon as I started this movie, I saw film grain, right? So and honestly, the cinematography in the beginning of this movie looks pretty good. It's not half bad. Once we get into the hospital, it takes a nosedive. It's actually kind of bizarre. It looks like Scream or something like that at the beginning. I'm thinking, okay, this might be okay, and then it just nosedives completely in quality. It's very strange. But yeah, there is a nice film grain structure if you're into that sort of thing. I'm not saying like watch this movie for the beautiful film grain because that's nuts. Don't do that. But I should say that like it's I always think about that like yeah, they shot this movie on film. Isn't that bizarre that they shot this horrible low budget movie on like film cameras? You know what I mean? It's just funny to think about, and it does look nice for some shots. Another thing, I mean, I could go on talking about how bad this is, but it takes so long to get to the hospital. It's a 90-minute movie, so it's not very long, but it takes like 25 minutes for them to get into the hospital and get things going. It's just like we don't care about any of this shit. It like just get us into the hospital. You know what we want to see. Yeah. Oh well. I can't believe I talked for 8 minutes about this movie, but yeah. I mean, it was terrible, but it wasn't like the worst low budget horror movie I've ever seen. So I can't be like so harsh on it. But yeah, I mean, do I recommend it? Not really. It's not even a like, it's bad, but it might be a fun popcorn flick. I don't know. You might watch it and not be able to get through it. It's that kind of bad. But it's not like so bad you can't get through like 5 minutes of it. So I don't know. Maybe check it out if you're looking for that kind of vibe, that early 2000s horror vibe that I'm kind of a fan of. But you might not be able to make it through. So that's that. What's coming next? I really want to watch the early 2000s um, Texas Chainsaw Massacre movies. I was thinking that or like the Hills Have Eyes remake. There's two of them. Some people don't like those, but I've always really liked them. That there's just something about that style I like. I can't find them anywhere. Streaming has been kind of bad with horror movies this year, so I might just have to pick them up on Blu-ray or DVD or something. But yeah, that's it. Thanks for watching. See you next time.